Longer-term consequences of the suspected Chinese spy balloon affair are beginning to emerge. China says recent progress towards stabilising ties have been damaged by the US shooting down the balloon. Now, it says that the response was an overreaction to what it claims was an accident.
我们已经表明，这完全是一次不可抗力导致的偶发意外事件。美方还刻意的渲染、炒作，甚至武力袭击，是不可接受的、不负责任的行为。
But isolated, it is not. At the same briefing, Beijing confirmed that a balloon sighted over Latin America is also of Chinese origin. It says that the unmanned airship had accidentally strayed from its scheduled route into the area. And it clarified that just like the one that floated into US airspace, the balloon in Latin America was meant solely for civilian purposes. The US Navy is searching for remnants of the first balloon in the Atlantic Ocean. It's believed that the balloon was carrying scientific equipment, including solar panels. The incident is the latest to sour ties between the two superpowers, and it's prompted US Secretary of State Antony Blinken to postpone his highly anticipated trip to Beijing. For more, Olivia Seong joins us live from Beijing. Olivia, the China balloon saga just continues as we go on here. Have we learned anything more about these balloons, though, and what other response we might expect from Beijing?
Dawn, today, some revelations, but perhaps many more questions after the Chinese Foreign Ministry's regular briefing. What we learned today is China, for the first time, acknowledging that the second balloon that the Pentagon had reported they had sighted on Friday that's been floating over Latin America. China acknowledging that this is Chinese, even though it maintains that the balloon was meant for civilian purposes. It also said that the airship, because of weather and limited self-steering capabilities, had unintentionally deviated far off course, allowing it to reach over Latin America and the Caribbean airspace. And it says that it had notified the relevant parties and that this was being handled appropriately, and that it would not pose a threat to any countries. And this is a similar account that China has given for that a balloon that the U.S. says is a spy balloon that had been floating over sensitive military bases in the U.S. that eventually had been shot down. We are also, though, having still many questions about China's possible response to the shooting down of this Chinese balloon. No further details being given by the spokesperson, even when asked, and no further details also as to the company that China is saying is involved and potentially owns this alleged spy balloon. When asked what is the nature of this company, whether it has any government links, whether China would help in asking for compensation on behalf of this company, the spokesperson chose to sidestep all these questions. And so we really don't know for now how China may react. And we will just really have to see how this plays out in the coming days.
Yeah, plenty of questions still about that balloon. But in the meantime, Ollie, China is calling that takedown of the balloon by the United States an overreaction, and not to mention the fact that the United States is also postponing the Secretary of State's trip as well to Beijing. How much more of a dent is this whole saga going to put on ties between these two countries?
Yeah, we continue to see Beijing reacting angrily to the U.S. action. Today, we learned that the Chinese Vice Foreign Minister had lodged a formal complaint with the U.S. Embassy on Sunday, saying that the U.S. had turned a deaf ear on China's explanation and accused the U.S. of indiscriminate use of force, saying that the U.S. actions have severely damaged China-U.S. ties and efforts to stabilize relations, calling on the U.S. not to further escalate tensions or hurt Chinese interests. And we already see the fallout of that. We know that the U.S. Secretary of State has postponed his visit to China. And when asked today if there have been talks on when this visit would be rescheduled to. China did not give any further information, holding on to its position. It said that neither side had actually announced that this visit was going to take place, even though it had been widely publicized and even mentioned and acknowledged in Chinese state media. Instead, what China is saying is that the U.S. is overreacting, and how it handles what happens going forward will be a test of its sincerity. Have a listen.
中方始终按照习近平主席提出的相互尊重、和平共处、合作共赢三原则看待和发展中美关系，同时坚定捍卫自身主权、安全、发展利益。此次飞艇误入美国领空，完全是意外偶发事件，但考验的是美方对稳定和改善中美关系的诚意以及处理危机的方式。美方应当同中方相向而行，妥善管控分歧，避免误解误判，破坏彼此互信。
Now, we know that observers were saying that no huge breakthroughs were being expected with Mr. Blinken's planned visit to China. But what the visit was supposed to have done was to help put in place so-called guardrails for the bilateral relationship, which has been spiraling downwards in the last few years, given the many issues of contention. But now, with this balloon incident continuing to develop, and as the U.S. continues to pick up debris, and as more is likely to be revealed about this balloon and its capabilities, it looks like talks between the two sides will be all the more difficult moving forward.
Olivia, thank you for that. Olivia Xiong there in Beijing.